Hi everybody, Matt back with you. Hope you're okay. Today we're going to be following in the footsteps of one of Halifax's most famous people, notably Anne Lister, whose statue is here at the Peace Hall in Halifax. We're going to go to have a look around Shibden Park, pick up Shibden Hall, see if there's anywhere else nearby that links that story. And of course, Anne Lister, now more famous thanks to the Gentleman Jack TV series. Before we leave the Peace Hall, though, let's have a look at the hands of a 19th century murderer that can be seen on the side of the door by the Peace Hall. Not very visible anymore, but pre-1976, before sandblasting, they were. The original Shibden Hall in the Shibden Valley dates back to 1420. Between 1615 and 1926, the home belonged to the Lister family, who were mill owners. The most famous resident from Shibden Hall was Anne Lister. Anne was born in 1791 and lived till 1840. She became the sole owner of Shibden Hall and made extensive improvements to the building and the grounds, including the gardens and building the boating lake. In 1926, the grounds became a public park, and Shibden Hall became a museum around 1934. When Anne Lister became the sole owner of Shibden Hall, she also inherited shares in the canal and railways and in mining and quarries. Though not exactly forgotten, in more recent times, the last few decades, she's become known as a more prominent person to come from Halifax. She kept diaries, and a good chunk of those diaries were written in a code that only she would follow. And once they were decoded about a century or so later, it was found that she'd had many affairs with different women over the years. And these diaries form the plot of the BBC TV show Gentleman Jack, featuring Sir Anne Jones, which has been on over the last few years, and filmed extensively at Shibden Hall. Just coming into view is Halifax Minster. Anne Lister is buried inside, or at least her stone is inside. Funnily enough, it was found hidden under some flooring. It had been hidden away since about 1870. It only reappeared in the year 2000. And we'll pop back later and see if we can visit. But if not, I'll put a picture on of what her stone looks like. And of course, if we move around, we find Gentleman Jack herself. And this is the Sir Anne Jones version. Okay, we are now at Shibden Hall. Look, Danielle's come to join me. She must be mad.
Behind her back she's Gentleman Jack, a Yorkshire lady of renown, ever so fine, run to the line, speak her name, gentleman frown. At Shibden Hall she had them all, the fair and sex fell under her spell. Dapper and bright she held him tight, handsome and seduced him well. Gentleman Jack, oh Gentleman Jack, watch your back, you're under attack. The husbands are coming, you better start running, for nobody likes a Jack the Lass. Jack the Lass, Jack the Lass, no one likes a Jack the Lass. The code is cracked, your bags are packed, the knives are out, the Gentleman Jack.
when Anne Lister became the sole occupier of the hall, she did up the house and did up the grounds as well. So she put in that boating lake. The grounds, since about the 1930s, have been open to the public. And one of the features here is a nice railway line, a little miniature railway. I don't know if it's running today, we might find out later. But you can see the track here. Not sure if Anne put that in. So heading up a very steep hill up to look at Shibden Hall, which has stood here since about 1420, and not a lot of it is the same as it was then. The generations of people who've owned it have altered it, but some of it dates to the Tudor time, and I think when you see it you'll think it's pretty obvious which bit that is. Now, I don't think we can go in the hall at the moment, but we'll have a look when we're there and see what we can find. Okay, so here we are at Shibden Hall. The sunshine has turned to snow, and as mentioned, this was for 300 years belonging to the Lister family, and 49 of those years it was lived in by Anne Lister herself. Shibden Hall has been a museum since about 1934, and it's been used for things like the film Peterloo, and of course most famously the BBC series Gentleman Jack, which was all about the life of Anne Lister, and it was also based on the 5 million worded diaries that were found, and which most of them were in code and had to be decoded. In 1980 these were finally decoded. I was quite amazed at what the diaries revealed. So we are inside Shibden Hall. Because we're inside, all I'm going to do is show you what's here rather than talk about it, purely because I won't necessarily know what's here. This is the kitchen, and we'll just follow it round and see where we end up. In the study. Savile room. So, where that sign says private, Danielle's just tried to go into that priest hole there. Can't believe it. Can't take people anywhere. Never get me up to mischief like that. Oh, Danielle, here we are in the buttery. There's no comment. Bench here. There's the date, 1682. I wonder if it really is that old. Okay. Should we be up here? Oak room, complete with a wig in the corner. So this is the red room, called that because of the decoration that runs around the top. You won't be able to make it out on the camera, but it is red. I suppose the curtains on the bed are too. Apparently, the door here once led to the flesh chamber. This place gets more interesting by the minute. So apparently this floor leads up to the tower, but that's as far as we can get visitor-wise, although probably Danielle's going to have a go at getting in there. Should try the door or something. There's the powder room. Ah. This looks like where the diaries may have been written. So when the diaries were decoded, about 6 of them were in code, and it took quite a few years to figure out what they were about. A lot of that code was hiding the multiple lesbian affairs that Anne Lister had had, which at the time would have been quite shocking. But she had quite a few people over that time. She wrote about it in depth in the diaries. So it's why she's quite often referred to as the first modern lesbian. In Lister's bedroom. Goodness. It was sunny about an hour ago.
Oh, wow.
We may be stopping here for the day. So there is a sign that says, sit on the bed. Doesn't quite feel right in the museum. We're about to set some alarms off. So here we are in Anne Lister's bed. And Anne Lister died whilst abroad at the age of 49. And her body was brought back here, and as we showed you earlier, she was buried at Halifax Minster. So we now cross in the barn. Not sure quite what we're going to see here. Maybe just a load of old equipment, which is what we can see in this shot. Oh wow. All the vehicles. The park drag. Oh, built in 1725. That's 300 years old, this. Amazing. I love these old, what would have been horse-drawn vehicles. Amazing. Chris spinning? Let's find out. Oh wow. we both decided this is very strange to suddenly find a bar in the barn, basically. I wonder if it still has any beer in it. So there's a lot of different rooms in this area. Like all this old stone masonry. I don't know if this is just things they've found. Amazing. Shame he's got that stuck on his head. So there's even an apothecary. There's the phrenology head. Oh, wow, look at this. Lotions and potions. Room after room. Workers' cottage. Nice. Maybe. Well. This bit's quite interesting. It says here, the remains of the Halifax gibbet within this enclosure were discovered in the year 1840 under a mound of earth known as the Gibbet Hill. Well, of course there is still a gibbet in Halifax, but this could be the one that used to be on top of the hill by the station. 63. Extraordinary. So, that's just a quick wander around Shibden Hall. I personally haven't watched Gentleman Jack, just like I didn't watch Happy Valley. So, do you recognise any of the locations that you see in the hall from the series? Let me know. So, if we leave Shibden Hall behind us and head up into the woods, we eventually come out at one of the things that Anne Lister inherited. Now, when she was the beneficiary of the hall, she got railways and mills and also mines, and one of those mines is just above Shibden Hall, and it's called Walker Pit, which is named after the lady that Anne Lister married, but to locals at the time it was just known as Miss Lister's Mine. Now, I'm not sure quite what's left there today, but let's see if we can find it. So we're heading up the hill, come out of the woods, look at the path, and you might just be able to see the colliery remains just there in the centre of the picture. So this is what's left of Anne Lister's mine. You can see it in this bizarre light. So we can't get in here, unfortunately. That is the tower, and there is something through there, but it's not worth risking brambles and barbed wire for. There we are. So we're now at, apparently, the Great Wall of Shibden. Lister Monument. above Queensbury there is this ruin which is known as Upper Shibden Hall. The first mention of this hall was actually in 1277, although it wouldn't have been looked like this at the time. Well, obviously it's a ruin now, but it was rebuilt sometime in the 1800s by Michael Stocks, who was apparently due to be the first elected mayor of Halifax. This is a fairly amazing ruin, which when Stocks took it over, I think it became known as Catherine House, and above us is Catherine Slack. Wow, it's an amazing tower. Amazing. Battle through the undergrowth to see if we can get inside. Kind of. Wow. Cellar as well. We're inside the tower here. See right up to the top. So, my friends at Bradford Through the Lens have recently done a video on Michael Stocks and his grave, so I'll put a link on for that. But yeah, this is the first Shibden Hall, or what's left of it. Okay, back now at Halifax Minster. Let's see if we can find a gravestone of Anne Lister. They are still here. Let's see what I can find. So, I believe this church is roughly 900 years old. I've never been in here before. Wow. So we're going to have a look for Anne Lister's gravestone. What we're not going to see is her actual burial area. We've just been talking to the people at the entrance. And essentially Anne is buried somewhere underground here, but nobody's sure quite where. So this stone here is apparently, this is the oldest part of the church. That stone was there from 900 years ago. So it seems a bit weird we're walking on gravestones, but actually they were gravestones that were outside, been brought inside. There's all sorts of memorials on the wall, just far too much to look at today. Look at the organ. Okay, so here we have the gravestone of Anne Lister. Obviously it's not very easy to read. It is in poor condition. As I say, it was hidden underneath the ground for about 130 years. If you can just go here, it reads, memory of Anne Lister of Shibden Hall, died on the 22nd of September 1840. You was filming yourself? I apologise for the current state of the video.
Zoom in, like, you know.
Right, let's have another go. So here is the gravestone of Anne Lister, and it's not particularly easy to read, but you can make out definitely Coutts in Georgia, which is where Anne passed away. And it says on here, memory of Anne Lister of Shibden Hall, died on 22nd of September 1840. Interred here, 29th of April. Should be 1841. Okay, hope you've enjoyed our look at Shibden Hall, Upper Shibden Hall, and some of the story of Anne Lister. There is an event coming up at the end of the month celebrating Anne Lister's birthday. A few days of activities. I'm going to post at the end of the video so you can see what that is. And in the meantime, it's very windy. Danielle and me. See you very soon. Take care. Bye.